tangled. Careful with my carbs.
What have you done? Hello and welcome to Good Game, the show for gamers by gamers. I'm Hex.
I'm Barjo. No time for fancy pants introductions this week as we have been hit with AAA fever.
And it's here, Modern Warfare 2. The first game was truly superb, a masterpiece of both single and multiplayer. But can the sequel match or even surpass the experience?
Ratchet & Clank return with an all-new arsenal of space gadgets in an all-new intergalactic adventure.
Super Mario Bros. Wii tackles one of the gaming classics, turns it next-gen and adds a simultaneous multiplayer.
Plus, our fully formed thoughts on Dragon Age Origins, the epic RPG.
Hands of those who seek to right our wrongs.
So what's next?
Go on.
Good game.
Activision Blizzard announced its Call of Duty Endowment Fund this week. The foundation, being formed with a $1 million grant, aims to help support military veterans, a group that traditionally struggles with unemployment after they leave the service. The foundation's first contribution is $125,000 to the Paralyzed Veterans of America to help open a vocational rehabilitation centre. Spare a thought for our German friends this week as we hear rumours that our brothers in censorship won't be getting their hands on Alien vs Predator. Sega apparently told a German magazine that the game was unlikely to get a rating there and that they're not in the habit of shipping games without ratings. They apparently refuse to dilute the content to please the censors and will be sticking to the mature and violent themes of the movie franchise. A spokesman for Sega Australia was unconcerned, stressing that what's bad for Germany isn't automatically bad for Australia, and said it's fairly common to pass over Germany for distribution, citing the Wii's Mad World as an example.
Jack. Just Jack.
Good game.
Ratchet & Clank: A Crack in Time is the latest in the series from Insomniac Games, and it picks up right where Quest for Booty left off, with an all-new set of action-packed missions, and we had a blast.
If you're unfamiliar with Ratchet & Clank, it might be easy to assume that you're getting a tame, kidsy experience from this, but you couldn't be further from the truth. It has elaborate cutscenes, superb voice acting.
Yep, without Clank, Ratchet was alone in the universe. Alone. Alone. Alone.
You realize this ship has an ejector seat, right?
But then it's topped off with hours upon hours of awesome space-exploring gameplay.
You play as both Ratchet and Clank, but you'll spend most of your time apart, and each character has their own unique play style, so when you're forced to switch between the two, it's always welcome and you're always ready for it.
The variety of gameplay is impressive, from point-and-shoot to platformers to puzzle games and boss fights, and when flying from planet to planet, you even get to engage in a bit of Lylat Wars-like action as you fend off enemy ships that attack in waves from all angles. I had great fun here.
Me too, and there's something so old school about firing an endless supply of missiles and watching tiny saucers explode. And the weapons are also so diverse, and that's one of the best things about Ratchet & Clank is getting creative with your arsenal and playing with all the fun weapons.
And it's really fun switching them up mid-fight as you annihilate your robot foes. I love the grenade-launching power glove.
If you've ever played Braid, then you'll recognise the time-bending mechanic here that they've adopted, and when you play as Clank, you can record a past version of yourself to open doors or press buttons, while the present version can then go through.
Some of these past recorded self-time puzzles were quite challenging, Barjo. I love them as much as crate smashing.
There is a lot of crate smashing, though.
What have you got against crate smashing?
I just resent having to smash every single one of them to get enough bolts and washers to upgrade all my weapons. It's just tedious.
No, but it's all about getting into a rhythm with your crate smashing badge. If you hurl a spanner or fire a laser while on the run, it all just becomes part of this awesome momentum.
This game does tick all the boxes. There's varied gameplay, it's a really rewarding experience with all the new abilities and weapons that you can use in new areas to take on new enemies. Plus, the cutscenes won't kill you with boredom, they're quick and entertaining.
Yeah, I agree. The story progressed at a really great pace. Ratchet & Clank games are known for having a really high production value, and this one's no different. I'm impressed with how imaginative the world was altogether.
I like the non-linear structure to the missions, and all the small moons scattered about the solar system work as great platformer side missions, and it's good having the freedom to fly about space, visiting random planets as I choose.
That's true, but if you deviate from the main mission too much, you may find yourself arriving at a planet with missions you can't complete yet because you haven't actually got the right gadget for it yet. It was a really solid effort from Insomniac, and I really enjoyed my time in the game. I'm giving it 9 hover-booted chickens.
Fans of the series won't be let down here, and newcomers will enjoy the experience too. I could have done with a little less repetitive crate bashing for cash though, but I'm giving it 8.
Good game.
From the makers of Mass Effect and Baldur's Gate comes the truly epic dark fantasy RPG Dragon Age Origins. A kingdom is once again under siege from the Darkspawn, and it's up to the often misunderstood Grey Wardens to reunite the kingdom and send them back from whence they came.
Plot lines and storybook villains really take influence from classic fantasy like Lord of the Rings. There's 6 origin stories to play through before you launch into the main storyline.
But the most important thing in this game is how you carve your own story. All the conversations are like mini turn-based strategy battles, and because it's such a long game, I found myself just throwing caution to the wind right from the get-go and just going with whichever option I wanted to without any worry about consequence or what could happen afterwards.
Me shimmying down the Darkspawn line? Sure, we could kill them while they roll around laughing.
And Hex, you know, I wish I had this much time to answer people's questions in real life.
Hey man, do you want a coffee? Yeah, I mean, your reputation always precedes you, and characters will actually reference what you've done previously, which always surprises you and brings you closer to the story.
You allowed yourself to be manipulated by Balin, and you murdered your elder brother, Trian.
Due to the untimely death of our debug console, I had to replay the first 6 or 7 hours of this game, and I thought here's an opportunity to try everything the complete opposite and see what happens.
So how did it go?
Well, I learned about a plot against my character a bit sooner, and I came out with a lot more money, and I had a new quest as well. But the main storyline missions still happen, it's just that they have slightly different conversations around them, and that makes sense to keep the story going. And what this means is actual consequence for your actions.
Your companions won't always get along with each other or you, and if you don't choose your words carefully, they'll actually start to dislike you.
I knew I'd regret letting you go through with this.
You fiend!
It is upsetting to hear your friend's tone change as they're talking to you in general conversation. This can be improved by talking to them more or giving them gifts, and sometimes certain conversations can unlock special group buffs. If you do something they're really opposed to, though, be prepared for some friends to turn on you.
I was wrong, and I will not let you get away with this.
Yeah, they all react differently to the choices you make, and it's quite hard to keep everybody happy. What I recommend, if someone looks like they're ready to leave, strip them down of all of their gear to their underpants and then send them on their way, so that way you at least get something out of it.
Yes. I see. And why do you think this?
You can control up to 4 members in your party, and combat is MMO-like. Crowd control and a tough tank is key in big fights, while traps and knockdowns will keep you scrambling for that quick heal. Things will get pretty messy though if you've got too many close combat classes trying to squeeze through a bottleneck.
Yeah, the companion AI is generally pretty good, except if they don't have a direct line of sight with the actual enemy, because then they'll just hang back while you're getting smashed. Also, there's a pretty unfair stumble penalty if you queue up an action and then you change that while your character's getting into position. I didn't like that very much. You can always pause mid-battle and switch between your companions to give themselves some healing pods, or just simply focus fire on the target that has the most threat.
You'll also have to keep your companions geared up, level them and heal them in battle. You can set up custom combat tactics to put default strategies in place. These let you assign conditions and fighting styles to each character, so you can set it up so that characters can automatically use a particular ability or drink a healing pot when their health gets below 25%, stuff like that.
Yeah, it's really fun playing with these different strategies, but if you're not a fan of that kind of that depth, you can do a lot of automation options and even change the difficulty mid-battle. It is a bit exploitative to change to easy mid-fight just because your team is about to wipe, but if you haven't saved, then you might not be ready for that random wolf attack. It's been ages since a game has pulled me into a world like this, and between our first playthrough and the second, we've spent maybe 35 hours in this game now, and I still want to play more. I can feel it tugging me. I want to go home and play it now.
Yeah, it's a real water cooler game. You want to talk about it with your friends and find out which optional backstory they took at a particular point.
One of our editors, Mafia, dropped 20 hours straight in this game over the weekend, and since then we've been trading stories and giving each other tips. He gave me some relationship advice, and I told him not to bang the dragon gong just because it's there.
Very well.
The BioWare site has a bunch of social networking features, like recapping your own story. We do absolutely love this game, but there are a few niggles. There's no jump button, for example.
Yeah, I know it's a common complaint nowadays, but it's just so unfair when you can see your objective and the game won't let you get to it in the most logical path.
It really does take you out of the game when you can't even walk through a puddle.
Surely we're past all this now. I don't like being funneled through a bending pipe of level design for the sake of it. And the main problem is it's inconsistent. So just like raptors testing a fence in Jurassic Park, you'll keep trying different levels because some you can go up and some you can't, and make up your minds.
There is the odd glitch here and there too. This one we found particularly amusing.
Blood magic. How can more evil be of any help here? Two wrongs don't make a right.
It does seem like a sensible choice.
Other than that, there's not really much to complain about. And don't get us wrong, these are very, very small complaints. This is top-class, compelling RPG.
We played this on the 360 and PC, and the PC obviously has more graphics settings and it's easier to navigate all the menus, but I found the 360 port pretty good. You know, there's radial menus and they work well, and the trash and buyback system is good. But if you do go console, and it really is personal preference, install it to your hard drive. With so much dialogue and cutscene skipping, you really want that to be seeking off-disk. It's a really interesting evolution in dialogue paths and choice consequence here for this developer, and BioWare should really be applauded for taking this further. And I think it's the ambiguity of choice that makes it work so seamlessly here. There's no clear-cut right or wrong at times, and that's just great. I'm giving it 9.5 out of 10 rubber chickens.
There's some really creative quests there too that we won't spoil for you, but you'll never feel that grind creeping in. I'm giving it 9.5 out of 10, squashed by the guy from Fantastic Four Rubber Chickens.
New Super Mario Bros. Wii is here, and this time around it's up to you, Mario, to... Hang on. That's not the right footage. Okay, so here we are with New Super Mario Bros. Wii, and oh, for goodness sake, that's not right either. With all new features like a hat that helps you fly and an animal outfit that lets you... For great Scott's sake, this is ridiculous. How hard is it to get the right footage? Hex, you're gonna have to take over. I can't talk about it anymore.
So here we are with the latest offering from Miyamoto and Co. The imaginatively titled New Super Mario Bros. Wii. As you might have guessed, the game sticks heavily to tradition with the age-old formula back in play. Plumber meets princess, angry Turtle King kidnaps princess, Plumber jumps around a bit and saves princess. It's been done heaps of times, but this is the first game in the franchise to offer 4-player action, with Mario, Luigi, 2 buffed up Toadstools, and of course Yoshi weighing into the action.
I'd just like to tell you all how excited I was to play this game, even if the title is the second least inspiring thing I've ever heard. Mario is a bit like chicken soup for me, you know? It's been perfected over decades and it's comforting, you know what you're gonna get.
Yeah, I mean, it is comforting that so much is so similar, but I'm worried that not enough has changed to make it really stand out. And with games like And Yet It Moves and Braid taking the genre to new and exciting places, you know, I'm worried that Mario's gonna get left behind if he hasn't already.
Yeah, nostalgia only goes so far, and it would have been nice to see some real innovation here. Tacking on multiplayer doesn't really count, especially when you see how well Little Big Planet pulled it off. The only real innovation here is the Super Guide mode and the outfits.
The helicopter hat is like a pimped out raccoon suit, and the penguin is a distant cousin of the frog suit. The outfits don't really count as innovative, even if we haven't really seen them like this before. It's classic Nintendo variations on the same theme.
It does feel a bit lazy, though, to have 2 power-ups that freeze things. Ice, fire, more ice. Why couldn't we have earth, wind, and fire? And heart.
Go planet.
Multiplayer, though, having said that, is really fun, even though that filthy Englishman Jeremy Pencil spent all his time trying to throw me off a cliff. Curse you, Pencil!
Yeah, you know, I don't think we're enjoying it in quite the same way the developers had planned. Watching multiplayer demos, they were all working together, really disciplined, trying to get the most points and one-ups. But I think the way we were doing it was more fun.
And co-op is for hippies and communists. I wasn't quite as upset as I thought I'd be when I finally saw my first guide block. It was actually quite interesting watching one of the development team take over and run through the whole level. It opens up ways of playing that I'd have never come across on my own. At first I didn't realise you could just jump in at any time and take over. I was just letting it run its course, but I did like how at the end you get the option to replay the level or to skip it for the time being.
Yeah, it wasn't as offensive as I thought it would be, and it's certainly not going to bring about the end of gaming as we know it. The hint videos you unlock with large coins were a nice touch too. Apparently the videos are the best of the best from developers, and some of those guys have insane skills.
I'm really conflicted. If New Super Mario Bros. Wii was a bad metaphor, it would be like eating chicken soup with a sore throat. It's delicious, but it kind of hurts. I'm giving it 7 out of 10 rubber chickens.
Yeah, I mean, this is a tricky one. It's that typical Ninty balance of more of the same with slight innovation and a facelift to keep things moving. I mean, the foundations are rock solid, but I think it's time we saw more than a fresh coat of paint. Maybe a new kitchen? I'm giving it 7.5.
Rubber chickens.
Good game.
Ask anyone what the future of game distribution is, and they'll probably tell you it's digital.
Digital distribution we use as a term of art to describe things like Xbox Live Arcade, PlayStation Network, WiiWare. However, things have been digitally distributed going back to the first true expansion of the internet. I think when people first started looking at digital distribution, it was seen as a way to repurpose retro games. However, given the fact that the budgets for creating these games are an order of magnitude below what one would ordinarily spend for a typical retail game, you see a lot more experimentation. So there's a richness of nostalgia and cutting-edge creativity that creates this whole new set of bite-sized experiences at an affordable price. Flight Control is a great example of a digitally distributed game.
Flight Control is about you playing the role as an air traffic controller. It's really, really simple. You just drag a path from the plane to the runway with your finger, and that was made possible because of the touchscreen on the iPhone. I saw the future of digital distribution compared to a console game and the costs involved there. It's a fantastic place to experiment.
Digital distribution offers a lot of benefits for game developers, but it can still be a struggle to get a downloadable game made.
When I was working for Xbox Live Arcade, I was actually greenlighting and rejecting submissions from developers and publishers. We would reject probably, 4 out of every 5 that made it to us. So you can imagine, the vast majority of things actually don't end up making it through to the service, and sometimes it was quite hard to make the decision. For example, I was the person who greenlit Braid. But I really can't claim any special insight there because the biz dev person who Jonathan Blow was working with, he came to me and essentially said, this game is a complete no-brainer. You should greenlight it without even looking at the paperwork. We knew that even though it may not necessarily sell very well, we knew that it would receive great critical acclaim. And of course, that's exactly what happened. Tremendous critical acclaim, and on top of that, great sales.
A game like Braid is a perfect example of something that may not have otherwise found its home at retail or in any of the traditional avenues that are available to a game developer. So as one person, he's able to present his vision on an international stage, which is a tremendously democratizing and valuable in terms of the canon of creativity that we have as a culture.
So what is the future for digital distribution? And does it mean the end for your local game shop?
Basically, when the new console generation ships, that's when digital distribution will become a major force, if not the only force. It's hard to know. But at a bare minimum, it'll be a very, very significant percentage of total console sales. Of course, on PC and mobile, and it already is the dominant force, has been for a while.
Every time a new medium comes up, there's this question like, oh no, what's television going to do to radio, or what's downloadable movies going to do to DVD? The interesting thing to note is that digital distribution introduces a new choice, and that is a very important thing for any industry to have, a new choice.
Good game.
Modern Warfare 2 is here, and really it needs no introduction. We played it on PC, 360...
Hex! I'm sorry, I have to stop you there. I need to rant. It's about the multiplayer. Call of Duty 4's multiplayer was almost perfect, and Call of Duty World at War wasn't bad, but it's old news now, but Modern Warfare 2's multiplayer matchmaking system is identical across all platforms, and that means the PC version doesn't have any dedicated servers. I knew it would be bad come launch, but I didn't realise it would be this bad.
Yeah, it's crap. I mean, if you're a fan of pubbing it up on low-ping Aussie servers or running your own mods, then get ready to be disappointed. International matchmaking will be thrust upon you, and quite often it's not always a match made in heaven.
For us Aussies, this leads to horrible host migration problems, uber lag with international guests, and it ruined about half of the matches I joined. And when you leave a group, it counts as a loss. So either stay in the group and have my grenades leave a second later than they should, or leave the group and have a strike against me.
If you only play with friends, then you're probably not going to be too bothered by this, except for the fact that you won't earn any XP in private matches, which probably is something that's going to bother you.
Why did Infinity Ward have to go and be a noob about this? I mean, I play FPS on a PC because I like the control you get from a mouse, I like being able to have a console menu you can pull down and pub it up on regular low-ping servers with people that I may recognise, and now all of that's below par for the multiplayer except for the mouse bit. I can understand why they're doing it. You know, they want to make it so that everybody can play the game. I'm sure there's areas in the world where they may not have access to servers, and that's great, but why not have both? Does it really matter if some people play ad hoc and some play on servers? Okay, now let's talk about the game.
Do you need a sec to calm down?
Maybe just one more facepalm.
He's gonna get away! No, he's not.
The single-player campaign is pretty much what you'd expect and then some. It's fast, relentless, and completely over the top. They've introduced much larger and more detailed levels, slow-motion breaches, more destructibility in the environments, as well as those gunplay-free scenarios which we love. And we won't spoil it for you. One of them is in space. Your squad mates also call out enemy locations, and objectives are clearly marked. You never get lost.
The quick, gratifying kills are as gratifying as ever, and the AI will react to your nades and actions in a believable way. For example, if you're in a hectic firefight and you shoot one guy, all of them won't instantly turn around and attack you, and that kind of happened a bit in World at War. Those moments that really stress out your hardware happen in non-combat areas, so if you've got an older PC, you'll still be okay here. You won't struggle with this. For the most part, the story will pull you through at a hectic pace, narrated by Optimus Prime.
We fought and bled alongside the Russians.
But there are glaring holes in the plot, and it's kind of more of a bunch of scenarios tied together with a loose voiceover, kind of like Optimus Prime's last movie.
Hey, we got contact to the north.
There is the odd mission that puts you in a large map and then just moves you from point A to point B while dudes keep coming, and that does get a little bit tedious, but at least I didn't notice any of those points where enemies just keep on spawning until you move up.
How about that orchestral music though, Badge? When it really cranks up, it tugs at your heartstrings and then shoots them in the face. The campaign is shorter than the last though, Badge, and remember, even that wasn't that long.
Yeah, but it's such an intense ride, you know. In fact, I had to go stare at a blank wall for a while afterwards just so I could calm down. The multiplayer really was where Call of Duty 4 shined, and now there's two multiplayer modes, Spec Ops, which is a two-player co-op, online or split screen, and Old School. It's not really called Old School, it's just the older. It's the same thing.
6 seconds yesterday.
Spec Ops is made of 23 individual missions that you can play through in either split screen or online co-op. You can also attempt most of the missions solo, but we definitely suggest getting a friend to help you out, as these things do tend to err on the side of insanity. You can think of this mode as little bite-sized chunks of mayhem that typically take anywhere between 3 to 15 minutes to complete. Ranging from hectic snow buggy races to wave defense, to more or less everything else you've come to expect from the Call of Duty series. And yes, that means an AC-130 gunship mission.
Hex, playing through all of these co-op missions really made me wish that the whole campaign was co-op, especially the sniper ones. Old school multiplayer is a lot crazier now with all the new weapons and new perks and elite perks and all the kill streak unlocks as well. You'll also get lots of unlocks and notifications thrown at your face with the guitar riffs, a lot more than the last game, and for purists, they might not like seeing revenge and payback every few seconds, but I didn't mind it too much. They've really gone nuts with the killstreak unlocks though, haven't they?
Yeah, I mean, it just adds more things to do along with the new maps, and that's what a sequel should be. We haven't unlocked them all yet, but it goes from UAV stuff to sitting in a helicopter to Pred missile strikes. There's also a nuke which can end the round instantly, but you need a 25 kill streak, and that's not easy to get.
Takes me back to Shadow Warrior. There's also a riot shield which comes in very handy in maps like Headquarters where you need to hold a particular point. and the last kill in each round gets replayed in glorious slow motion, which can be really awesome or really embarrassing if you spammed all over someone's face. Final thoughts?
You come into Modern Warfare 2 with super high expectations, and mostly it delivers. I'm giving it 9.5 out of 10 rubber chickens. I didn't like the civilian slaughter though badge. I mean, I can see what they were trying to do, but what did you think?
Honestly, I didn't like it. I wasn't hugely offended or anything, I just think the game would have been better off without it. This is still an amazing game though. I'm giving it a solid 9 out of 10 rubber chickens. And if you think that the tone of this review has been a little bit negative, it's really just because of all the frustration we have with the lag, and Infinity Ward, give us a region lock or patch it or something. Ah! So gamers, did you guess what was so special about Super Princess Peach? It's the first and hopefully the last game featuring the princess as the hero. This time around, Mario and Luigi were the chumps tied up in the castle, and it was up to Peaches to save them using nothing but her foul moods and a pretty parasol.
Needless to say, women all over the world found this very empowering, and the game was a runaway success.
That last bit wasn't true.
It was stupid.
We'll be back next week with more fun and action from the wonderful world of video games.
Plus we have Assassin's Creed 2, yay! And we catch up with its lead developer.
And Left 4 Dead 2, does the censored Aussie version leave us with a completely eviscerated experience?
And we meet another of Australia's best gamers. This time it's the world's greatest Galaga player.
There's always tons of extra stuff on the site, and you can chat with us on the forums, Twitter, Facebook. Until next week, gamers, Barjo out.
Hex out.